Hey, what's going on? Good morning, guys. Rules for Rebels here, and today we're doing week 3 of the Millionaire Fastlane Book Club. The reading this week consisted of part 3, which contained chapters 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, but it was still pretty short reading. I really apologize for being late on getting the book club video out this week. They're supposed to be posted on Monday. Over the weekend, I was doing some painting. I had totally rearranged a room, and I could not for the life of me find my book. So what I wound up having to do is download Audible. I saw they offer a free trial and let me listen to it for free, give me a credit. So
Besides, the banks and utility companies are big, rich companies. They're the enemy.
You put faith into politicians.
So I wound up listening to it this week. But in just a second, we're going to get into just kind of a rundown of part 3. I'm going to try to keep things a little bit more concise this week because a couple of you guys said I was a little bit long-winded. I realize you guys have read the book as well. You don't need an entire play-by-play. But we're going to hit some of the most important points of the chapter. And I'm curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are on this chapter. Did you like it? Did you agree with the messages? This week we kind of covered the sidewalk path. I think next week we cover mediocrity, and I think after that we're going to get into the fast lane. But overall, I enjoyed it. They kind of talked about how the sidewalk people. Sidewalk isn't really about income so much as it is about planning and your worldview and how you live your life and your behaviors. We'll get into all that stuff in just a minute. So week 3, part 3 of the Millionaire Fastlane Book Club. We're about to get started, guys. Hey, what's up, guys? Just finished making the video for the book review this week, and I had a thought, and so I just wanted to kind of edit this in. In just a second, I'm going to play this Joe Rogan diatribe for you. It's called The Society Trap, and it's basically about how we put on clothes we don't want to wear, suits and ties and whatever else we got to wear. We go to a job we hate, we do something that we do, and at the end of the day, we get to go home and buy a shiny new belt buckle or turn on our big screen TV. And we're all living kind of quiet, or not all of us, but a lot of most of society is living quiet lives of desperation, spending the majority of their life working, doing something they hate, so that at the end of the day they can come home and buy some material things. And MJ Demarco's message in this, which I was kind of surprised by because I thought he was kind of a Lamborghini, buy fancy things type of guy, but he talked a lot about personal finance and freedom and things like that. And a big component to freedom, the trinity of freedom, is what? Family, relationships, health, and freedom. None of those things have anything to do with material possessions, and he kind of goes on to talk about how society, media, companies have kind of distorted wealth into making us think that we need to chase all these things and follow all these things. And really, you're not getting happiness. You're just getting yourself more debt that you're going to have to continue to work more to keep up with. It was kind of funny. My dad was recently in town, and I had mentioned how I just paid off my car. I got a Hyundai Elantra, nothing fancy. It gets me where I need it to go. It's good on gas. And my dad was, oh, you paid off your car? That's great. Are you going to go buy an SUV now? And that's just kind of like how society is. As soon as you pay off one thing, you're supposed to go out and buy the next big thing that you have to keep working to keep up with. And really, I'm thrilled to have no car payment. I'm going to drive this fucking car into the ground, and all that $300, $400, $500 or whatever that I might spend going out and putting into a new SUV and throwing away all the money that I put into this car. That money I'm instead going to put into Bitcoins, going to put into index funds, going to put into investments, going to put into a rainy day fund. And that's less that I have to work to keep up with lifestyle. So in the same way that you want to make money, and earning money is going to give you a better life and more security and everything, the less money that you spend on your life means the less money that you have to make. And you're not in this trap of continually, forever having to work and give away your freedom just to keep up with these material possessions. So I'll play the clip for you guys. I thought it was interesting, and I thought it kind of embodied the idea of this entire chapter.
Instead of that, you've sold your life to sit in a box and work for a machine, an uncaring machine that demands productivity. Doesn't understand you, it doesn't want to understand you. It has a bunch of very strict things in order to keep the humor at a minimum in the office, just in case one of you fuckheads says some stupid sex jokes that gets them sued, and they have to give somebody $1 million. So, get it together, and this is your life now. No natural behavior. Everybody's wearing clothes they don't want to wear. Everybody's showing up and doing something they don't want to do, they have no connection to. That's the problem with our society. And then what's the reward for all this stuff? Go home, get a big TV. Go home, you're going to get a shiny belt buckle. You're going to get a nice purse. You're going to wear shoes that you couldn't afford last week. You're going to get that dream car. And every week we're chasing down this new object, and every week we're trying to fill this hole in this sad shadow of a life that we've been left with after work. That you work 8 to whatever the hours a day plus commuting, and then you're like this. And that's your life. That's your real fucking life. All that other stuff is not your life anymore. All that other stuff is work. And most of us have committed to that.
Okay, guys, so Millionaire Fastlane, Week 3, Part 3, Chapters 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I threw together kind of a little blog post with kind of the quotes of the chapter, as well as kind of the main points of the chapter. So let's get right into it. Part 3, Poorness, the Sidewalk. And it starts off with Chapter 5, the Sidewalk Roadmap. So I like this quote. When you're the first person whose beliefs are different from what everyone else believes, you're basically saying, I'm right and everyone else is wrong. That's a very unpleasant position to be in. It's all at once exhilarating, at the same time an invitation to be attacked, by Larry Ellerson. So kind of the chapter summaries from this chapter are fast lane distinctions. A first-class ticket to the sidewalk is to have no financial plan at all. The sidewalk's natural gravitational pull is poorness, both in time and money. So basically, if you don't have a plan, you're on the plan to poorness, most likely. You cannot solve poor financial management with more money. And in this chapter, they kind of talked about how the guy who's making $500K a year and, you know, has a $10,000 a month mortgage payment and driving a new BMW and everything else, he's really just as poor as the guy making 30 grand a year with, you know, a $1,500 rent payment and a car payment. Like, if you're not managing your money properly, no matter how much money you have, it's not going to solve the problem. He goes on to say you can become rich and still ride the sidewalk dirty. Talks about how, you know, rappers and celebrities and things like that with poor money management wind up not being able to get, like, even small loans, wind up filing bankruptcy. And we all wonder, like, how does that happen? If wealth is defined by income and debt, then wealth is an illusion because it's vulnerable to potholes, detours, and bumps in the road. When the income disappears, so does the illusion of wealth. And I was kind of impressed that MJ Demarco was kind of talking some personal finance and, you know, kind of being frugal and smart with your money. When I first started reading this book in the first chapter, I kind of got the idea the book was going to be like, you know, cocaine, Ferraris, and hookers, like make more money, spend more money, and really starting to talk about, you know, having some financial awareness and stuff, which I thought was kind of cool. Poor financial management is like gambling, and a house eventually wins. So that was basically Chapter 5. Chapter 6 was called Has Your Wealth Been Toxified? Wealth is the ability to fully experience life, by Henry David Thoreau. And I like that quote. To me, wealth, or, you know, not even wealth, to me, money is more about freedom and security than it is about buying a new car or whatever else. I mean, hell, I'd like to get a boat, but I mean, at the end of the day, being able to live your life on your own terms is worth a lot more than a car or a boat or a fancy house or a fancy purse or whatever else. The chapter quotes and highlights, they talked about the trinity of wealth, and you can kind of tell MJ Demarco's a kind of a very conservative, kind of family-oriented guy. I noticed that a number of times in the book he talks about how, like, if you're on the sidewalk, you're kind of a drain on society and a drain on taxpayers and things like that. And he talks a lot about family and relationships. And, you know, I thought that was kind of cool. I kind of expected him to be more of a fast-living kind of Hollywood kind of style guy. So I thought it was kind of interesting to hear kind of what he values. But family and relationships, and not just family, but relationships with friends and things like that. Your fitness and your health. Even if you have money, if you're not healthy, you can't truly enjoy it. And then lastly is freedom. There may be a guy out there driving around the newest BMW and with all the toys, but if he's working 80 hours a week and never gets a chance to enjoy it, is he really free or is he really wealthy? The Millionaire Fastlane addresses the freedom portion of the wealth trinity. And like I said, to me, that I think freedom is the most important kind of aspect of you know, having a wealthy life, so to speak. Wealth is strong-spirited familial relationships with people, not just your family, but people, community, God, friends, etc. Wealth cannot be experienced alone in a vacuum. Believe me, the richest moments of my life occurred when I was surrounded by family and friends and loved ones. And wealth is freedom of choice, freedom to live how you want, do, you know, what, when, and where. And I think that's really important. The chapter summary for Fast Lane Distinctions. Wealth is authored by strong familial relationships, fitness, health, and freedom, not by material possessions. And I thought that was really refreshing to hear MJ Demarco say, since he's kind of all about the Lamborghini. I kind of expected a more materialistic kind of look at things, and I really kind of liked what he touched on in this chapter. Unaffordable material possessions are destructive to the wealth trinity. And earlier in this chapter, he kind of talks about how a lot of people on the sidewalk may have the illusion of rich. They may have the new entry-level BMW. They may have the fancy handbag and a nice coat and whatever else. But really, like, they're going paycheck to paycheck to be able to afford all this stuff. And one bump in the road, and it's going to throw off, this whole illusion of wealth that they've created. Chapter 7, misuse money and money will misuse you. Money can't buy happiness, but it can make you awfully comfortable while you're being miserable. Claire Booth Luce. Whenever I hear quotes like that, it always makes me think of that song. I forget who sings it, but it can buy me a boat. It can buy me a truck to pull. That country song. I love that song. And a lot of people debate, like, can money buy you happiness? A lot of people say, well, money may not be able to buy you happiness, but it can buy me a boat, and a boat would make me pretty happy. But what do you guys think? Can money buy happiness? Does money make you happy? I think if you're a miserable person, you're going to be miserable with money or without money. But I will say that money does buy freedom of choice, security, and those things are going to make you less stressed, which I think in turn is going to make you more happy. So in some ways, money does sort of buy you happiness or put you in a position where you're less likely to be unhappy, I guess. So quotes from chapter 7, the real thief of happiness: servitude is the antithesis of freedom. Debt is a leading cause of strife for newly married. Debt and lifestyle servitudes keep people bound to work and bound to relationships. And, Joe Rogan has some funny, I guess, funny or insightful, he gets real deep. And he has some funny and insightful kind of commentaries on life and careers and, society today. And he basically talks about how, like, we all go and spend, like, 3/4 of our life in shitty jobs that we hate, doing things that we hate, being pretty much completely miserable, so that we can come home and turn on our big screen TV, and that can give us a little bit of happiness at the end of the day. And, maybe we buy our Coach purse or whatever else. If I can find an interesting clip, maybe I'll drop one in right here. But getting back to the book, normal is to believe the illusion that the stock market will make you rich. Normal is to believe that a faster car and a bigger house will make you happy. You're conditioned to accept normal based on society's already corrupted definition of wealth. And because of it, normal itself is corrupted. Normal is modern day slavery. So I think that kind of goes into kind of that whole Joe Rogan point that I talked about. How many of us are kind of slaves to keeping up the material possessions and things that we have and things like that? We spend our whole lives working so that we can have some of these toys that we rarely get to enjoy. I was watching a documentary on minimalism or something like that, and they have kind of talked about how, a couple decades ago, when you watch TV shows, like television shows like Roseanne and things like that, embodied kind of like normal lives. And nowadays, think about pretty much any TV show you watch. Like, I know my girlfriend likes watching Hank Mad. I don't know why 90210. Just think about, like, all the pop culture and TV shows, and the average American life that we see displayed to us is probably a life that you would need to be making six figures to keep up with, in terms of, like, the types of houses and cars and phones and clothes that these guys have. So kind of the idea of wealth has been skewed. Society has kind of corrupted wealth to mean a certain thing. And it's kind of funny. I even see it not in, like, my normal viewers and subscribers, you guys, but some people who drop by the channel might watch a video that I do on some topic, and I'll notice people will be like, oh, you're not doing shit. You drive a Hyundai Elantra. You're not doing shit. If you were really having any success online, you'd be driving a BMW or whatever else. And, it's just kind of silly. And I think that's kind of the embodiment of what this chapter is about, is MJ DeMarco talks about how people are giving up a secure tomorrow in order to, have the newest smartphone every 6 months when it comes out. People are driving. Smartphones aren't cheap anymore. Now the service providers don't really subsidize the cost of the phone. So you want to have the new cell phone, get ready to drop $800-900, and you do that a couple times a year. You're really pissing money down the drain. So, the idea of wealth has kind of been corrupted. Advertisers and companies and things like that want to force us to believe that we need all this stuff to be happier, to keep up this middle class appearance. And I notice it coming out just in the general population. Like I said, occasionally people will be like, "You have an ugly couch, man. You can't be making any money." And to me, most of my money goes into investments and bitcoins. And I do have my small splurges. I like going out to a nice restaurant every once in a while. I like my weed. I like my my vacations a couple times a year, and that's kind of the couple things that I splurge on. But I mean, otherwise, all my money goes into savings or investments. I really don't get into clothes. I don't really need a fast car or a fancy car. So yeah, don't allow if you enjoy cars, by all means, buy yourself a nice car, but don't buy things just to keep up an appearance. I guess is kind of the message of this chapter. Wealth and happiness are interchangeable, but only if your I can't talk today, guys. Definition of wealth hasn't been corrupted by society's definition. Society says wealth is stuff, and because of this faulty definition, the bridge between wealth and happiness collapses. The fact is, there are plenty of poor people who live richer than their overworked upper middle class counterparts because those guys lack freedom. They lack solid relationships and they lack health. I'm having trouble talking today. All effects of working a hated 9-to-5 job for 50 years. So I think MJ kind of makes the argument here that, even if you're making less money, if you're only working 30 hours a week instead of 60 hours a week, you're probably going to be happier, you're going to be healthier, you're going to spend time with your family, you're going to have more time to work out, and you're actually going to have some freedom. So you may actually be more wealthy in lifestyle, even if you make less money than somebody who works more and makes more money. Affordability is when you don't have to think about it. If you have to think about affordability, you can't afford it because affordability carries conditions and consequences. Unfortunately, short-term feel-good is often long-term bad. Instant gratification is a populist plague, and its predominant side effects are easily spotted: debt and obesity. So I thought this was a good point. Credit has really, credit's been around for a long time, but it's really gotten big in the past, decade or two or three. I think in our parents or maybe grandparents' era, it was like if you can't afford something, to buy something in cash, you don't buy it. And now it's like, oh well, yeah, I don't have all this money, but I can get a BMW 325, and it's only going to cost me $700 a month. But I can make it work. So that's kind of talking about like instant gratification and short-term thinking, which is going to hurt you in the long term. These marketing messages, share one commonality: you're the prey of the messages, and the peddlers don't care if you can afford it or not. Defend yourself by exposing the hook beneath the bait. A bucket of bondage, which is lifestyle servitude. Money secures one agent of the wealth formula, which is freedom, which is a powerful guardian to wealth, sibling ingredients, health, and relationships. So money buys you the freedom to watch your kids grow up, go to their baseball games, go to their school things. Money buys the freedom to pursue your craziest dreams. If you want to open a whitewater rafting thing down on a river or something like that, you need money to do it. Money buys the freedom to make a difference in the world. A lot of people say, oh, I don't want money. I want to make a difference in the world. Well, guess what? Now, not to say you have to have money to make a difference, but if you have money, you're going to be able to make a lot bigger of a difference in the world, whether that means teaching kids to read, helping homeless people get on their feet. Whatever your cause is, having money is going to make you more effective at helping that cause. Money buys the freedom to build and strengthen relationships, and money buys the freedom to do what you love with financial validation removed from the equation. So if you have to bring in money to pay the rent, you have to do what pays the bills. Once you have money and everything you do isn't focused on money, you're going to have the freedom to do some things that you enjoy and not put money first. Lifestyle servitude. Work creates income. Income creates lifestyle, i.e. cars, boats, designer clothes. Lifestyle and debt forces you to work more, rinse and repeat. So this is sort of along the lines of what Tim Ferriss says in the 4-Hour Work Week. Like, not only do you want to make money, but if you can be smart with how you live your lifestyle and how you do things, you have to work less to get the amount of money that you need to live your life. So chapter summary, fast lane distinctions. Money doesn't buy happiness because money is used for consumer pursuits to destructive freedom. Anything destructive to freedom is destructive to the wealth trinity. Money properly used can buy freedom, which leads to happiness. Happiness stems from good health, freedom, and strong interpersonal relationships, but not necessarily money. Lifestyle servitude steals freedom, and what steals freedom steals wealth. If you think you can afford it, you can't. And the consequence of instant gratification is the destruction of freedom, health, and choice. Chapter 8, Lucky Bastards Play the Game. I'm a great believer in luck, and I find the harder I work, the more of it I have. Thomas Jefferson. I think that's a fantastic quote. We hear people a lot of times talking about how other people are lucky. And, does luck exist? Well, yeah, I think to some extent luck exists, the right place, the right time. But it's the people who are putting themselves in a position to where they have a chance to be lucky who get luck to work for them. So I kind of stumbled upon the first business that I got into, which wound up being very successful and which I'm still running today. And some people might say that was luck, and I was in the right place at the right time and was just kind of exposed to this right idea. But at the end of the day, I'm somebody who every day is out there, being aware of what's going on, staying on top of current events, looking into business stuff, trying different things. And because of that, I was in a position to where I was able to take advantage of the kind of quote-unquote lucky situation I got in. Chapter 8 quotes and highlights. The right place isn't on your sofa watching American Idol or slapping greenbacks into thongs at Betty's Booty Cabaret. Although that is fun, it's not the right place to gain wealth. Or down at the neighborhood bar getting jacked up on Bud Light while watching the Cubs lose another game. If you want to be in the right place at the right time, you indeed have to be at the right place, and the right place knows which places are the wrong places. When you consistently act and bombard the world with your efforts, interacting with waves of other people, stuff happens, and that stuff sidewalkers interpret as luck when it is nothing more than action engaged with better probabilities. So I think this is really important. This kind of highlights what I was just saying, which is luck exists, but you don't get lucky unless you're putting yourself into places and the positions to get lucky. A sidewalker's mindset is anchored in 3 beliefs that keep them trapped and vulnerable to money-making scams. Luck is needed for wealth. Wealth is an event. We talked about that in some of the earlier chapters. And others can give wealth to me. So he talks about how people count on their employer or the government or whatever to write the system for them. And you really need to take life into your own hands and do things yourself. The chapter summary, like wealth, luck is created by process, not by an event. Luck is created by increased probabilities that are improved with the process of action. If you find yourself playing the odds of big hits, you are event-driven and not process-driven. This mindset is conducive to walking on the sidewalk, not the fast lane. And get-rich-quick infomercial marketing is fast lane because savvy marketers know that sidewalkers place faith in events over process. And then lastly, money-making quote-unquote systems are rarely profitable as the act of selling them to sidewalkers. Chapter 9, wealth demands accountability. Responsibility is the price of greatness. And I think this kind of goes to the point of you can't continue to do the same things and expect different results. If you come home from work and you sit down and start watching the Housewives of the OC and not reading or educating yourself or building a website or doing something else, don't expect different results. You really need to take some responsibility and buckle down and do what you need to do. Chapter 9 quotes and highlights. There was a recent labor union rally against Walmart employees disgruntled with the retailer's poor wages. A 30-year-old employee named Eugene complained about his employer, arguing that he spent 3 years unloading trucks for $11.15 an hour, which was below the retail industry average of $12.95 an hour. His grievance, he can't afford a car or Walmart's health insurance. Wow, how disturbing. Was someone arrested? Seriously? Someone should arrest this man who put the loaded gun to Eugene's head and forced him to work at Walmart for a below market wage. Give this guy a bitch slap. No one forced him to work at Walmart. He works there because he chose to work there. Hey, Eugene, if you're tired of making $11 an hour, raise your value to society. Get your ass over to the library. Walmart can't offer low wages if they don't have an endless supply of victims like you. Americans once loyally proclaimed, give me liberty or give me death. Now we just want to say, give me. How did we get here? It isn't complicated. We relied on others to make financial decisions for us. We ignored the fine print. We didn't read the contract. We didn't read the legislation. We made government and insurance policy. As a society, history is doomed to repeat if we continue to repeat this behavior. Accountability is culpable to your consequences and modifying your behavior if we need to prevent those consequences. And most bad situations are consequences of bad choices. Own them and own your own life. So he kind of talks about how in today's day and age, everyone kind of expects the employer to give them a raise, the government to come give them a higher raise. We saw what happens when people demand more than they deserve or more than their skill set deserves. I know in California they were talking about the $15 minimum wage. And while I would love to see everybody make a living, a good living wage and be comfortable and support their family, not every job is worth $15 an hour. A job that requires no skill is probably not worth $15 an hour. So when all these people in California were threatening to strike or whatever else, or we want a $15 minimum wage, you know what McDonald's did? McDonald's is taking employees who take orders out of the stores and putting in basically kiosks that you use, because kiosks don't call in sick. Kiosks don't need to be trained. Kiosks don't need health insurance. And so basically, in the past when people were working for $10 an hour, $11 an hour, or whatever, McDonald's didn't need to invest in those kiosks because it was going to be costly to do. And at the end of the day, it's in some ways better having a person up at the front of the restaurant, right? However, when people start demanding a $15 minimum wage and that job isn't worth $15, well, okay, we'll get rid of you and we'll put in kiosks. So quit expecting other people to make your life better and take some action and put some processes in place to make it happen on your own. And then lastly, the chapter summary, Fast Lane Distinctions, Chapter 9. Hitchhikers assign control over their financial plans to others, effectively introducing probabilities to victimhood. The law of victimhood. You can't be a victim if you don't relinquish power to someone capable of making you a victim. Responsibility owns your choices. And lastly, taking responsibility is the first step to taking the driver's seat of your life. Accountability is the final. So that's it, guys. Week 3 of the Millionaire Fast Lane Book Club, Part 3, Chapters 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I thought this was pretty easy reading. I'm excited for this upcoming week's book club, but I'm really excited for once we get into the fast lane section. I'm curious to learn more about, fast lane behaviors and things like that. So what did you guys think of this chapter? Did you enjoy it? What was your biggest takeaway? Drop a comment in the comment section below. If any of you guys want to host next week's book club, or really any week, feel free to drop me either a private message in YouTube or shoot me an email at rulesforrebels@gmail.com. And let me know that you'd like to cover it. And I would just ask that you have it in by Monday. I apologize, I screwed up and was late this week, guys, but won't happen again. Thanks again for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. And we will catch you on the next video.